so I have not done any preparation for this talk. I'm just going to wing it. Once again, my name is Chris Beeman, and my company is called Archer Sparrow. It's www.archersparrow.com. We're a web design shop here in town. And I really appreciate Keith and Deal News doing this, so thank you for hosting me.
Glad to.
And I appreciate all of you for coming. I won't take longer than an hour's worth of your time. Please interrupt me at any point and ask questions. And feel free to crack jokes or make this funny and interactive if I don't do that. So I work on a lot of projects here in Huntsville. I'm currently working on about 8, like I said. One of them is called Nova. Nova is an organization that connects or attempts to connect young professionals in Huntsville with local community groups. We're not trying to reinvent the community groups wheel. We're trying to be a conduit for younger folks to find out about opportunities to engage with sports groups and professional development groups and activity groups and interest groups. And especially for transplants like me, I'm from Boston, I moved here last year. When I came here, I didn't know a soul, and there was no real directory of groups, so to say, and I had to plug in the manual way. Nova is an attempt to give people a website and a couple of giant events per year where they can come learn about all these different community groups. So next Friday, May 20th, we're doing this event at the airport, trying to get 1,000 people into an airplane hangar. It's going to be pretty ritzy and cool. You should all come. And what we'll also have at this event is about 75 different local community groups, everyone from Huntsville Adult Soccer League to Rotaract and Rotary to Junior League to a whole bunch of different groups, AUSA, Dynamics Young Professionals, a whole bunch of different employer groups and interest groups that will have a table at this event who guests can go talk to if they want to learn about the community. So this is the website that I built for that project. I've got 2 co-founders on Nova. Their names are Jeffrey and Corey. Jeffrey's a lawyer, Corey's an event manager, and together we're throwing this big event next week. A lot of what went into this event has not been related to the website, though certainly people come to the website to buy tickets. But there are some features of the website that we hope will be valuable in the future. One is a member management system. Another is this ability to select your interests and see tailored content. And thirdly, for this event specifically, there's event registration. So WordPress, I started doing WordPress development about 10 years ago, and I actually gave an Ignite talk in Boston about how great WordPress was and how accessible it was as a CMS for non-technical people. You know, I really thought that it was this light in the tunnel. Having worked with Drupal for a number of years as well, compared to Drupal, it was a lot easier for small business owners who wanted to set up their own website without using a web design agency to do this in WordPress. And now, with my agency, we do primarily Squarespace for that same reason. We love Squarespace. Squarespace is really sexy. The UI for a non-technical client or end user is really beautiful and easy. It's drag and drop. And WordPress feels really clunky to me now, making basic, simple, content-based websites. If you're making a 5-page, homepage, about us, contact page type website, do it in Squarespace. Don't do it in WordPress. WordPress still, though, is a lot more robust and has a lot more functional qualities than Squarespace does. And I wish I had slides to show you all these things that I'm saying, because for those that aren't in this world, it's probably overwhelming to hear all this. WordPress is a PHP-driven content management system. It's free and open source. As a result of being open source, it has been built by a whole number of people, a big community of developers who are contributing to the source, as well as folks who are contributing plugins and themes to the library of extendable options for WordPress. If you go into WordPress, Andy, if I say anything that's wrong, correct me.
Okay.
If you go into the plugin and theme directories for WordPress, there's thousands of themes and thousands of plugins. Does everyone know what themes and plugins are? Who doesn't know what themes and plugins are? Okay, James. So WordPress itself is this system that doesn't necessarily have a look and a feel to it. It's functionality that you apply a design on top of, and a design in this case is a theme, and the theme gives it its look and feel. But WordPress itself is a publishing platform functionality to give you, the publisher, the ability to create content. Plugins extend the functionality of WordPress. Themes extend the look and feel of WordPress. Is that a good way to say it?
Yeah,
Andy?
that's how I do it.
Okay. So I asked Andy because Andy's a very established WordPress developer here in the community, not to blow up your spot. But Andy has built a lot of custom premium themes and does a lot of custom WordPress development that is far beyond the scope of my skill set. So basically, I chose WordPress because I needed to do some custom things that I couldn't do in Squarespace. I needed to have member management. I needed to have a sort of a user directory where people could create accounts and I could assign different roles to people, and furthermore make it so that people can do extended things on the site, which I'll get into later. I needed to sell tickets on this site, and I didn't know if Squarespace would allow me to do that. And I wanted to do it quickly, and I wasn't sure of Squarespace's capabilities for custom development. So I went with WordPress for those confusing reasons. And what came out is this website, which is, on the outset, is a basically 5-page website. On the outside, and when you log in, is a 3-page website. We have the home page here. There's the ability to create an account. There's the mission page, which talks about our mission. There's the about page. There's this ubiquitous get notified about our next big event thing. Because I'm logged in right now, there's our groups directory. I didn't know if I could build a directory using Squarespace, so I did it in WordPress. All of this started as a premium theme. So basically, when you start with WordPress, you install it on your server, unless you're using the hosted version of WordPress at WordPress.com. You install it on your server, and you have this base functionality. Now, WordPress packages a couple of different themes that come with it, and I think one is pre-configured for you, but you have the option upon a fresh install to add another theme. Now, had I been more prepared, I would have shown you what a fresh install looks like with a default theme, and I'm sorry that I didn't prepare that, because if you're not familiar with this, it's probably really overwhelming. However, you install WordPress, and you have this basic theme, and the theme gives the WordPress site a basic look and a feel. Now, if you just want a fast website out of the box and don't care what it looks like, you can go with this theme, and you can customize it as you need to on a very basic level. Most people, when they get up and running with a WordPress site, they choose a theme. What a lot of people don't do, or I guess a lot of people do, but what a lot of developers do is they develop their own theme. What a lot of people who are non-technical do is they choose from the tens of thousands of themes that are in the theme directory. So in my case, I wanted to make a custom theme. I wanted my website to look like this. I wanted my Nova Huntsville logo to appear in the upper right-hand corner, upper left-hand corner. I wanted this this sort of green, ominous, dark aesthetic to be here. And I wanted to create this, so I did. And the first thing that I did is I went to Theme Forest and I bought a theme. So Theme Forest is a platform for code and themes and plugins and all sorts of digital assets, where you can buy things that other people have made and add them to the things that you're making. And you can make your things look very nice. In fact, Andy makes Theme Forest sold themes that are very, very nice, super professional. The people who make these themes know what they're doing far beyond I do. So what I did is I bought the Kepler Responsive Business WordPress theme for $49. And let's just check out what it looks like. This is the preview for Kepler. All right, it looks nothing like my Nova site. When you buy a theme for WordPress, it comes with style sheets that determine the look and feel for the site, but it doesn't come with all this content. And so if you have a fresh vanilla install of WordPress and you haven't written any posts and you haven't written any pages, you don't have any content, you won't see the words, "This is Kepler," and "A creative man is motivated by the desire to achieve something, not to beat others," and "This iPhone in the middle of the screen," and so on. You need to plug things into your WordPress install in order for Kepler and its CSS style sheets to provide the aesthetics around those things. Does that make sense? Yeah? Okay. So I bought Kepler for $50 and downloaded it and then re-uploaded it to my WordPress install. And in fact, I did all of my WordPress development on nova.archersparrow.com as my test server environment. And I made this so that search engines can't find this website, so that really the only person who knows about this website is me. And after I was done building this website, I migrated it to novahsv.com, which is our actual domain. So the process of taking a premium theme like Kepler and modifying it involves downloading it. And in my case, I don't remember actually if I loaded it up on a local install of WordPress. I don't think I did. I don't like to work that way. I like to work on the internet. I'm not good at MAP or WAMP or any of that stuff. I'm good at uploading something and making changes on a server and hitting refresh a bunch of times, which is probably really slow, but it's how I do it. So so I uploaded Kepler. Let's see. I will log in here. So here's my WordPress dashboard on the live site. And if I go to Appearance here, my active theme is Kepler, as you can see here. These are the themes that WordPress comes with. It comes with 2015 and 2014 and 2016. You can enable these themes. I'll do it on this site, but Kepler is enabled. However, I've customized the heck out of it. So basically, if I click on Customize here, actually, I don't like this UI. Let me go back. If I go to my theme options, I've written a whole bunch of sloppy CSS to customize this theme. So all of this CSS here is custom CSS that I wrote to override the Kepler theme and make the site look like the site that I wanted it to look like. Now, I do a lot of visual design stuff, so I fired up Photoshop and went and created mock-ups for what I wanted the site to look like, and then exported those graphics and uploaded them to WordPress and CSSified them so that they looked good on the site. I did not just come in here and write CSS, and I can't do that, and I'm really jealous of anyone who can just write CSS to make web pages look good. Who can do that? Oh, you guys are jerks. Yeah, okay. I need to go into Photoshop and design first. What do you do, Andy?
I draw everything in Photoshop first, just to get the basic look. But
Yeah.
I usually just do a single page, like the home page.
Yeah.
Figure the rest out.
Got it. Who else that does WordPress development? How do you get from concept up here to finished WordPress theme? Do you do mock-ups? Do you just code? Anyone
Usually
else?
I just code.
You just code.
Usually, sometimes I'll fire stuff.
Okay. Has anyone used a premium theme for a WordPress site? Has anyone here used a free theme but has not used a premium theme? Okay, cool. Okay. So that's good to know. Premium themes often have, a whole breadth of additional robust functionality and customization options built into them than free themes, but there's tons of free themes that look pretty good. And at the end of the day, you need a nice looking website, you can go with a free theme. Okay, so I paid for Kepler, downloaded it, re-uploaded it, and before I went and added all this CSS, and really before I did any designs, I added the functionality that I wanted for this site. So I made a little product roadmap for what I wanted to build with this site in its first iteration. And I wanted member management, and I wanted event ticket registration, and I wanted a means of creating content that wasn't the WordPress post editor, and I wanted analytics, and so I went and added a bunch of plugins. So when you first come into a fresh WordPress install, you have a dashboard like this that looks a lot simpler than this. It doesn't have nearly the number of options in the left pane here as you see here. And as a result of installing plugins, I have extended the functionality of my core WordPress install, and a lot of these links now, Jetpack and Member Mouse, my reporting suite, Visual Composer, Connections, Slider Revolution, these are all plugin based. If I go to my plugins page, you can see that I have 19 plugins installed. Most of them are active, some of them are not. And the process of finding these plugins involved a lot of research. I don't actively do WordPress development, so to do this, I researched all these different plugins and found ones that fit for my needs, and then installed them all. And most of them were free. There's this huge community of WordPress developers who create free software for WordPress, and it's wonderful. And it has good sides and bad sides. It's great that it gets contributed. On the bad side, a lot of plugins go defunct and don't get updated for a long time, and they can break your site. And I broke this site a number of times, which is one thing I hate about WordPress. Who has had that experience with breaking their WordPress site? Yeah.
I have to break it to make it.
Yeah. Okay. One thing I love about Squarespace is I seldom break a site. It just works, kind of like Apple. Whereas WordPress, you've got all this crazy stuff going on, third-party development, plugins, themes, and things don't play well with each other, and you end up with an error that you can't get out of, and you need to know your stuff to get out of it, and it's frustrating. And back in 2005 or so, I thought WordPress was the best because it empowered people, but I sort of negated these issues that I'm talking about right now. I was just like, whatever, they're small things. But actually, these issues are really painful and damning for the non-technical publisher who has a WordPress site. And if you get into this bind, it's extremely frustrating. And I've stopped giving my customers that experience in some cases. For certain customers, I build them WordPress sites, and for other customers, I build them Squarespace sites based on how likely I think they could get out of that situation with totally breaking their site. We haven't seen that happen yet. It's probably not worth going down that road. Anyway, so I added a bunch of plugins, and some of the plugins that I added were Member Mouse. Member Mouse is a $30 a month subscription-based member management tool. You can do all sorts of things with drip campaigns and selling products and listing members for dollars and email newsletters and things with Member Mouse. There is a huge array of member management plugins and companies. Other ones are Memberful and Silkstart and Wild Apricot, however you say apricot. And there's a whole range of them. I used MemberMouse because it integrates right into WordPress and it leverages the same database that WordPress is powered by. If you create a user account that's a WordPress account, you are also creating a MemberMouse account, and that's awesome. Because on some sites that doesn't happen. You need to use 2 different databases, 2 different systems to have your member management effects happen. A big plugin that I use that I really like is Visual Composer. Who knows what Visual Composer is? Who uses it? You don't use it, Andy. You do, Kyle.
I used to.
Okay. Visual Composer is, let me go over here and log in to my test site. Visual Composer is kind of like Squarespace on WordPress. It allows drag and drop of UI elements and UI patterns and makes it so that you can really easily create a bunch of different types of content that go outside the bounds of what WordPress traditionally lets you do. So I'm going to go to the Pages section, and I'll just go to the Home page. And so here's the home page. Here's Visual Composer shown here. If you haven't seen this before, this is probably really overwhelming to look at. If you can imagine in your head the traditional WordPress post editor, you've got this WYSIWYG editor that kind of looks like Microsoft Word, and you can type words into it and make your text bold by selecting it and that kind of stuff. Visual Composer kind of abstracts all of that and makes it so that you can create different types of content. I can't say this in any kind of clear way. You can create all different types of content and display it in all different pre-formatted ways. Sorry. Modules, right. If I want to create a contact form or a message box, or I want to write some raw HTML, or I want to add a tweet button or something to my page, I can select this thing which has already been sort of configured by Visual Composer and add it to my page, whereas traditionally in WordPress without Visual Composer, you need to go, add some code to your template file or add a plugin that adds this piece of functionality and then go style it. Visual Composer makes it very easy to just plug in pieces of functionality that have some basic styling applied to them. How many people are totally lost on what I'm talking about right now? Anyone? Oh, this is good. Sorry.
I made it really clear when you said WYSIWYG.
Yeah.
Okay, I got it.
Yeah. Another thing that's cool about Visual Composer, just small thing here, is that if I create, say, a call to action module, I can, it has some text in there by default. I can customize all these things, stick this in there. That thing is now here. This is the call to action. This is the tweet meme button. In fact, if I save this, if I update this page, and then go to my home page and hit the refresh button, my tweet button is here, and my call to action is here. Just to show you some stuff you can do here, let's say instead of having my call to action span, the full width of the page, I wanted 3 different columns here. So here I'll put a custom heading, and it will say some things. And then here I'll choose a post grid, and I could customize it, but I'm not going to. And I'll save those changes and hit update. When I refresh the page, Visual Composer has put those content modules into 3 columns for me I didn't have to write any CSS to do that, which is wonderful, and it's responsive out of the gate. So this is, if I shrink the page down, the tweet meme button is still here. These 3 different, floated columns are now stacked, which is great.
Does that translate over into a mobile app as well?
It translates over to a mobile website. So if you looked at this on your phone, it would look the way it's supposed to look. And you can rejigger the, column margins or something, but if you don't want to do that, it makes it very easy to just plop modules on the page and define some content and go.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Can't remember if you said, is Visual Composer one of the free ones, or do you have to pay for it?
Visual Composer is not free. I think it has a flat cost of like
$29.
$29.
Okay.
It may have been on sale, but
Yeah, I think I paid like $60 for it or something.
Does
Probably
it work with all the different themes out there?
Yes, it works with all themes.
Okay.
All,
That's good to know.
as far as I know, correct me if I'm wrong, all plugins work with all themes. No?
Well,
Vast majority
All
of,
is dangerous.
yeah,
some plugins don't have anything to do with things.
Okay.
right.
There's caveats in there, but mostly they do.
Most plugins work with most themes. If you think of the theme as the look and feel, the metaphor I use is the house. So you have your house, which is your foundation, and the wooden walls and maybe the roof. The theme is the white paint on the outside of the house and the shutters on the outside of the house and the red door. And you could have any theme. You could have a green door or an orange door, and the plugin is
The mag lock on the door.
right, exactly. And so just think of making a house with all these different options, themes and plugins and themes and plugins. They all go together. I'm running low on time here, so other plugins that I have going on here are Connections, which is basically a directory plugin, and it makes it so that you can have a big directory of groups. We have right now about 80 groups on the site and 260 total in our database. I need to add more. Connections gives you the ability to add that directory functionality, which is very nice. And one other thing I was going to share that Visual Composer does, which is nice, is it makes it really easy to add a parallax scroll to your modules. So if you see that kind of effect there where the airplane is not scrolling as fast as the text is, Visual Composer makes adding features like that really easy, which is nice because that takes some time to write in CSS.
So Chris, there's 2 things there. So essentially, Visual Composer does the CSS for you, yes?
Yes, that's
Okay.
a simple way of saying it. Yep.
The other thing is, I haven't heard you talk about user-generated content, which would sound like it needed to be a part of this website.
Yeah, so we don't have that idea yet of user-generated content. I haven't done any development on that front, but that is absolutely capable with WordPress in general and with this website in particular. Currently we have, well, let's see how many we have. We have a
The
bunch.
reason I raise it is because there are groups that may want to be on Nova,
Right,
but you're the bottleneck, so.
right. And my plan of action here is not to do any more WordPress development because I don't want to. My plan of action is this is a working prototype. It shows what needs to happen. We're throwing this big event. We've got engagement out the wazoo. We've got all these people signing up on the website. I want to go raise some capital and do this the right way through someone else later. But this is my working prototype that I can show to.
This is your MVP, right?
This is my MVP. So if I'm here on my actual website and I go to Member Mouse, let's see, I have 165 users. So that's decent in a few weeks of marketing. And right now we're doing something like 500 views or sessions a day from different users, which is cool. That's kind of all the things I wanted to explain here. I didn't really deep dive MemberMouse. If you want to check it out, their website is membermouse.com. If you want to check out Visual Composer, tell me if I'm going too fast for those of you writing. Visual Composer, you can Google it, or you can go to vc.wpbakery.com. And that's the Theme Forest version. Yeah, I will stop there for now and open up the floor to questions. Yes.
Question. Is there any of the free member management plugins that you recommend?
I don't know. This is what I do. The best free WordPress membership plugins. WP Members is great. Yeah. Paid Memberships Pro, also a good free plugin. Yeah, I don't know, actually.
Have you ever used WP Commerce instead of some mouse or anything?
I have not yet used WP Commerce.
And it's a free one, so that's just curious.
I was going to say that if you go to WordPress.org and search for plugins, you get reviews and ratings on how good they are.
That's true. So WordPress has a nice rating system, and you can see when a plugin has been updated and how many reviews it has.
I mean, that usually goes into my decision-making process. A lot of reviews, if it gets frequently updated, probably means it's not going to break, which means I don't have to worry about it.
That's not true, because 23 total had like 10 billion downloads and it broke every 10 minutes. That's why it sold it.
Some of the reviews, like, ought to be really bad.
They were, but I mean, with the total number of people using it that weren't doing anything other than just installing it, there was nothing keeping it out.
Okay. Good point.
It broke everything for years.
What was the name of that? So I'll stay away from
83
it.
total cache,
Okay.
but Frank sold it.
Yes.
You're obviously a big fan of Squarespace. What are some of the limitations in that made you go to WordPress instead of Squarespace?
Squarespace doesn't really have plugins. They sort of have plugins. Squarespace is proprietary as opposed to open source. They've invested millions of dollars into their platform, and they've chosen partnerships with specific companies. So, for example, MailChimp is their one and only newsletter plugin capability. And MailChimp is built into Squarespace. So if you want to use Constant Contact with Squarespace, you got to take the user off your Squarespace site. You can't integrate it. Squarespace is connected with Stripe. They have a deal with Stripe. If you want to have Squarespace e-commerce and use PayPal on your site, you can't. You have to link to PayPal externally.
Don't use PayPal, use Stripe.
Right, so you can't, but the point is that you can't extend the core platform the way you can with WordPress. Yeah. Yes?
I really don't know anything about WordPress or Visual Composer, but how does it work with stuff like if you're doing an application that has a lot of JavaScript in it, stuff like that, how does it fuse with that? I'm doing like a project for the school, and you got to work with the canvas, a lot of drag and drop and stuff like that, and I have to learn a whole lot of JavaScript and all that stuff. And how does it really work with it?
So these things are not totally related in this way. Visual Composer certainly uses a lot of JavaScript, but going down the WordPress Visual Composer route is probably pretty abstracted from what you need to do for your assignment.
Yeah.
You probably need to have a blank web page and some simple HTML elements and manipulate those elements with custom JavaScript written on that page. And if you go into the whole content managed world, it's just opening up a big can of worms. Yeah. You wouldn't really go into the CMS world to write custom software. You'd go in there to build a web page that you have an idea for in your head or that someone wants you to build with the intent to publish content.
The biggest problem I'm having is like, okay, we can try this out, maybe this will work. and a day later you find out something better, and then a day later you find out something better. Then a couple days later you find something else. I mean, I went from all the way from Angular 2 down to SVG, and and all. It's a big rat race right now.
It is a big rat race.
Yeah.
And I think it's hard to learn how to code if you've got Google at your fingertips, because you've got the whole world in front of you, and it's much easier to take a class where someone's guiding you through that way, or to take like an online course where something like Code Academy or Udemy or something is saying, learn these specific things and stay within these bounds.
Yeah, that's the thing. We don't have a class or anything like that. They're basically like, look, because I'm a research assistant at UAH, and it's like, okay, see if this works. Let's try to see if this works. Try to see if this works. And it's, as far as the front end part, there's so many different things I can use, but it's like, hey, find something else, and I mean, it's just a pain in the butt right now.
For sure. What didn't I cover that anyone wanted to hear about?
Transfer the website.
Transfer the website. Man, I actually that's a good thing to talk about. I always hurt myself when I do this. I basically zipped up all the files on my server. I went into my host and I downloaded the database from PHP MySQL, and I transferred it over to the new domain, and then I went into both the files on the server side and the database on the database side and did a find and replace for all instances of the domain that I was changing over to, and I broke the crap out of my site. And then I went onto Upwork.com and hired some guy in the Ukraine, and I paid him $150, and I had a great looking finished website.
Updraft Plus is a plugin that will handle that for you.
Yeah.
That's what I did.
Yeah.
I went through that myself.
What's it
And,
called?
Updraft Plus. And they actually, if you pay it, you can do it for a single site or a number of sites. And it also gives you cloud storage backup, so so you can have regular ones, or you can manually do them or whatever. So it integrates when you update a plugin. It'll actually make a full backup of your web page, your database, and everything, all your content into the cloud. Then you update your plugin, and if it breaks, you just roll back.
Cool.
And you can do it regularly, automated, whatever.
What was the name of that?
Updraft Plus.
Check out,
It's a paid plugin though. It's expensive.
There's also one from Delicious Brains. I forget the name of the plugin, but they have a free version that it'll pull down a copy of your database and it'll change all the paths for you, and then you can re-upload that to the new site. They've got a paid version too, though.
One of the things you want to look out for though is your PHP versions of your test environment versus where you're going. If they're not synced and not the same, you could transfer to everything perfectly, just like you said, with a free or pay tool, and it's not going to work.
And
I ran into that.
I believe I ran into that too.
So that brings up the hosting environments.
Yes, sir.
Are you self-hosting, or you have a hosting environment?
I pay for shared hosting where I have like 50 domain names that I've never built the website on, like most people.
You can do it locally. There's you
That's
can
true.
install WordPress, you can
Right.
install WAMP or LAMP or whatever environments you want to, and do it locally, and then transfer it over. But just make sure your PHP version, whatever you're coding with, syncs with where you're going to go to, and then you won't have any issues.
Yeah, that's where you crossed over in from my understanding to developers.
Yeah.
developer understanding.
But-
What would work on a different PHP version? I mean, if WordPress runs on one,
It didn't in my experience because for some reason, when I went to GoDaddy used a different version.
well, that was your mistake. You shouldn't use
Yeah,
GoDaddy.
yeah.
They're getting better, but they were horrible. The problem is they still have a lot of old servers out there
Yeah.
running PHP 2.2, 5.2,
Yeah.
and stuff like that, and that's like 8 or 9 years old now, which in
Yeah.
PHP is like ancient age.
So I finally got it developed in 5, a version of 5, and then even I had to have like 5.3, 5.4, 5.3.4, 5 whatever. But once I finally got them synced to the same number, it would transfer successfully, and then that was hunky dory. But they even send you a document. They even have the transfer wizard. None of that shit worked, and I had to do it. So
I'm just going to beat this dead horse. Even as a fairly technical guy, I hate this stuff.
yeah.
All the stuff that we're talking
The
about right now,
back-end stuff.
what version of
Yeah.
PHP, I'm not a good developer, and it shouldn't be like this for every person who's making a website.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm aware of it, but That's why I would talk to somebody that actually knows more about it than I do.
Right. I would hire some guy in the Yukon.
In the Ukraine for under $50.
Right.
I'm not
Yeah.
Ukraine, I got 2 developers there, and they're really good.
Right.
One thing to add to all of this, just based on some recent experience we had here at Deal News, is that if you're running a WordPress site, maintain all of the security requests and patches. If you decide to not run the site anymore, please destroy it and don't leave it sitting there waiting for someone to hack and take advantage of. There's a vulnerability out right now called a pingback. I forget the full official name, but basically some people have gotten into a lot of WordPress sites, and pingback allows you to reference content on another person's site, and so that WordPress site will then ping back and let you know every time they've read your content. Well, if someone has maliciously put your content on their site and pings back to all these vulnerable servers, then you can very quickly get, as we saw, overloaded and taken offline. So security, always keep that in the forefront of whatever you do.
WordFence is a security plugin that I use. It's a free one. You can pay for it, of course, but that's what I use. Definitely, if you use WordPress, get rid of all the default user accounts and create one that's oddball. Don't use admin, don't use your site name, don't use administrator.
Yeah.
Because they'll have all the script kiddies in the world will hit your site and try to exploit, just like
Right.
you're saying.
And this is
And
open
WordFence
source
will catch it.
software, so the hackers know exactly how the software works and doesn't work, and they will exploit that to no end. So you want to always stay up to date on Advantage. So I'm going to jump in real quick. It's 1 o'clock, and some of you may have to get back to your real jobs. If you need to leave, feel free. Put some discussions on the MeetUp group. I'm working on getting some more events set up for the coming months. Before everybody takes off, Chris, thank you.